This third phase is about addressing each of these 4 categories of objections that developers have created through your help. We're going to later introduce the mantra of safe, better, and no worse so that they can practice this as a new standard of what is committable. But until then, we've got to tackle these categories one at a time, starting with the category of being too dangerous. This is going to be the number 1 concern anyway. So at this point, this is where I would be showing them the video of committing -safe because we need technical advice that I do not have to provide. All right, we're going to head back into the code with Arlo here in a second, but first I wanted to say, while I know you're going to probably watch all the videos in advance, it's really critical to watch this one in advance. I know I had to watch it a few times to make sure I at least understood the concepts well enough to be able to facilitate this particular section. You'll see in the facilitator's guide a table with levels and how to prove them. And so this table will make a lot of sense when you watch the video that Arlo provides. And during the video, while the developers are watching it, you'll want to draw this particular table or these levels of proof on the whiteboard if you're in person or on a shared screen if you're in a virtual setting. So, Arlo.
Yeah.
We're back here in the code.
Mm-hmm.
And now after this video that we have watched, we know that our old safety standard is now the lowest standard.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So while we can't get top safety of bug for bug compatibility for this particular piece of code, we know we will next time. Let's not worry about that for this particular cycle. We also know that we can't do telemetry during the mob. That's not...
Yeah, we don't have a live production system and users.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and at least get this as safe as possible, or what I would say not safe as possible, but safe enough. And there's a big difference between those two. So could you please, in the code, do some static analysis on it to achieve safe enough?
Okay. So what does safe enough mean?
Okay, so safe enough simply means that it's no more likely to cause a bug than anything else you've checked in.
Oh, okay. So sort of near the bottom level, about what we'd get from unit tests, but okay. All right, let's see what I can do to make it safe enough. Well, so if I think about how I did this change, first of all, I did both of my refactorings. I did 2 refactorings, and that's all I did. And so that's fairly safe. And both of those refactorings, I used ReSharper. Well, I guess Writer. I'm in Writer right now. I forget what tool I'm in. But I used my refactoring tool. And that one does do a bunch of static analysis. So it actually did a lot of safety check for me. So the extract method, it does pretty safely. And the rename, it does pretty safely. So that's interesting. That actually gives me a high degree of confidence. It's moved up a fair bit. And stepping back a little from the sim, Arlo as a coder, these tools are very safe, these particular ones, and it's done static analysis to a level that's even going to be bug for bug compatible. We're actually already there with the commit the way that I did it before. However, I might not be using a tool. I might not have as safe a tool, in which case there are other answers that I might give. So I'm going to go ahead and give one of those now. Right.
Okay.
So let's assume that I'm doing something in a different programming language where I don't have a good tool. It's like, well, okay. So again, I only did these 2 refactorings, so it's fairly easy to look at that. And there's only so many things that could screw up. The rename was only for the function that was used the one time, and I can see right here on the screen both times I didn't cause a problem. The only way I could have caused a problem is if that name collides with another name that's already used in the system. I don't believe...
I don't think that's happened.
I think this name is unique. I'm probably okay. All right, so I'm safe there. So then for the extract method, the only way that could have been dangerous is if it changes the lifetime of any variable. And I can see that I'm just passing in a whole bunch of variables. In fact, that one it used as a reference because it's passing stuff back out. So none of those lifetimes got changed. Those are all passed by reference except for the value types. By the way, all of this does make sense to a developer. It doesn't need to make sense to you. Okay, so the lifetime of the variables is unchanged. Other than that, the content, the only way it could cause a problem is if there was an early return and there are no return statements in there. So there can't be any early returns or conditional returns. So looking at that, this code is safe. Statically, it does not do any of the problems that could cause a bug.
Great. So I know that we haven't addressed the other category issues, such as it's a really crappy name, or
Yep, it's a crappy name.
we haven't done a code review. But for this particular step of just making sure it's safe enough, do you agree that the objections that fell within that too dangerous cluster have been resolved for this piece of code?
Yeah, actually, we're at a higher level of safety than the other code that was already there. The static analysis that I just did really, it's better than if I had some unit tests.
Great. Now you heard in that entire simulation a lot of things that you probably didn't understand. Trust me, I didn't understand either, and that's completely okay. Some of this particular mob experience will be areas we don't understand, and what's important for us as non-coding facilitators is to know when we don't care about the details. So this is a point in time I can promise you is completely safe to go ahead and check your Instagram, because they are going to have a conversation amongst themselves that will make no sense. And the more we try to understand and contribute, the more we will muddle it up. There is one exception to this, and that is, what if they actually do get stuck? I can promise you, time after time after time, developers don't get stuck here. They just don't. But I'm going to give you the what if scenario because I know it feels better to have that option. So if they do get stuck, just ask these questions. And these questions are in your facilitator's guide. Number one, what changes did you actually make? They're going to say extract method and rename. Number two, how could those cause a bug? They're going to give you a bunch of answers you don't care about. Back to Instagram. And then number three, what static analysis techniques can you use to show that those problems didn't actually happen? I promise you those three will get any team unstuck. So the important point here is to just make sure that you're keeping them moving and that they get to the point of the success check that they agree that the objections that fell for the too dangerous cluster for this particular piece of code have been indeed resolved.